I just don't think there's ever a way to start this without sounding like ridiculously awkward and uncomfortable. So, hi. Hi, my name's Sophie, and this is my first YouTube video. And I'm not sure if I'm gonna like this or whether I'm gonna keep doing it, but I basically wanted to make a video about my experience of applying to Cambridge University, and kind of in the hope that it will help other people that are looking to apply in the future. Or, to be honest, I know I get like so curious about things like this that I haven't been involved in and always end up in like YouTube rabbit holes, like my experience applying to medical school, things like that. I literally get so gassed over. So yeah, might just be something people find interesting. But so I'll start by telling you kind of what I do and where I am now, and then I'll just talk a bit about my experience and just like some tips that I like would have loved to have known before I applied, and like would have found really helpful. Yeah, so my name's Sophie. I've just finished my second year doing geography at Girton. So Girton is college, which is part of Cambridge University. So I don't know whether I need to go into this much detail. I'll explain it just in case you don't know. If you do know, just like skip ahead. So basically both Oxford and Cambridge are collegiate universities. I hope I'm saying that right. So basically just means like they're not on one main campus. They're split into like lots of different colleges, and that's where you live. It's where you eat like meals and things like that, and then you travel into like specific department buildings to get taught and have like your lectures and your supervisions and things like that. Supervisions are just like one-on-one or kind of like one-on-two. They're basically like group discussions with lecturers about a particular topic or essay or things like that. Anyway, but I digress. So basically, yeah, I'll just tell you a bit about my interview and kind of why I chose to apply to Oxbridge and things like that. So basically, I never thought I would go to Cambridge or Oxford like ever. If you asked me when I was like 16, I'd have been like I've always wanted to go to university, right? But I kind of was just like, oh, I'll just go to like a kind of a good university, but I'd never thought I would kind of go to Oxbridge. That was never like, it was never like this. It hasn't been this like lifelong childhood dream of me being like Oxbridge, woo, yeah. That's like definitely not the case. Yeah, so basically I kind of started thinking about it as like a possibility after I got my AS level results, and I know people at sixth form now don't do ASs, so I don't know how helpful this is, but it was kind of then I liked having ASs because it was like an indicator of like how well I was adapting to A levels, and like the jump from like GCSE to A level. But I'm sure you guys know it. Sorry, I say you guys like I'm talking to like a set of people who are like in sixth form, but yeah, I'm sure if you're watching this video thinking about going to Oxbridge, like you kind of know where you're at and you know like whether this is like a kind of realistic thing. But that kind of brings me on to point number one, right? So you get 5 options of universities when you apply through UCAS, and okay, so my kind of top tip is just like go for it, because you get 5. You don't need 5 options. Like no one needs to go have like 5 choices from university. You literally need a firm choice that you're like, okay, if I get my results, this is where I'm going, and then your insurance that you're like, oh, okay, if I screw things up a bit, this is where I'm going, but also sick. Like, so you need 2, okay? So you might as well, in that 5, you might as well just go, screw it, I'm gonna go and apply to like one that I may or may not get into, but like if I do, it'll be really good. So top tip, like definitely number 1 is just like go for it, apply. You're not gonna lose anything, right? So the worst thing that happens, you don't get an interview, or you get an interview and then you don't get a place. So what, you've literally got 4 other choices of universities that will be sick, like regardless of where you go, and like you'll have a good time no matter like where you go. So I'd say like definitely apply, like go for it, don't be afraid to just be like, yeah, I'm gonna put it in and give it a go. But also like don't get like so caught up in it that you'd be like heartbroken if it didn't happen. Because to be honest, I just don't think it's worth it. And there are so many other universities that are amazing and you'll have a great time at. So definitely don't be like, this is all I'm doing and this is all, because it's just not, it doesn't need to be like that, and you'll have a great time wherever. So that's top tip number 1, is just like go for it. Okay, so and then kind of like link it back in. So my kind of experience, so I applied after I saw that I got like decent AS results, still thinking like this is absolute, rubbish. I basically, so the reason why I'm kind of doing this video is that I would never have applied if my parents weren't like quite pushy, and no, pushy sounds bad, like really enthusiastic and encouraging. But yeah, I'm actually super grateful for like them throughout this whole period, because I definitely wouldn't have applied if they weren't kind of encouraging me. But yeah, because I had quite a negative experience in my school. Like people at my school were telling me like, you're not going to get in, there's no point you applying, basically being just like really negative. And hearing that as someone who like isn't super enthusiastic or like doesn't really believe that they'll get in themselves anyway is actually just like pretty tough. Like if you're applying somewhere and you know it's hard to get in, and then you're listening to someone, no matter, even despite the fact that you've got good grades, and you're then listening to a teacher be like, oh, and you definitely won't get in, so don't do it. It's actually just, it's so stupid, and it's so like not conducive. It's just like not benefiting them or you. So like, and because you get all these options, it just makes no sense. It kind of would benefit your school if you at least like gave it a go. Do you know what I mean? And actually, even if you don't get in, I think you learn so much from the kind of process of applying. She said, I'm saying this now, at the time it was like so stressful, but you definitely do learn a lot. So I'm definitely encouraging anyone who's thinking about it to apply. And if you do have people at your school saying, being not the most encouraging, I would say literally ignore them. Because you're not doing this for them, you're doing this for you, and the worst that can happen is you don't get in, which is, no big deal at all. So yeah, I was going through all of that kind of malarkey, whatever, and then I got my interview. So great, I didn't have to do any tests. I don't know if that's been changed now for geography. I have a feeling it might have done. But anyway, I didn't have to do any tests, so I was like straight through to the interview stage. And I like definitely didn't prepare as well as I should have done. I kind of again was in this mindset like, oh, this is a completely unrealistic goal, like it's never gonna happen. So I did like some prep in terms of like, I kind of let my mum like ask me a few questions, but in hindsight, if I could do it again, I would definitely do more of that. So lots of schools offer like mock interviews, like definitely take them, but also don't worry if your school doesn't. So like my school was a shambles again, kind of said that they would and then just like never did anything. But yeah, it's really not a disadvantage. My top tip I would say is just like speak about your subject with as many people as possible. Teachers are really good, but also like parents, just I don't know, read and like also practice, not just questions, but say like you read an Economist article, and then get your like whoever, mum, dad, nan, sister. So definitely read around your subject. So in one of my interviews, one of my questions was, I'm going on holiday tomorrow, I'm packing lots of books, what book should I take with me that's to do with geography? And I was like, okay, I don't know why you're asking me to, it was a weird question, but anyway, basically all they're trying to do with questions like that is get you to demonstrate that you've like read around your subject kind of thing. And honestly, it doesn't even, again, I wouldn't recommend it, but I didn't even read that much. I read 2 books. I didn't even read 2 books. I read sections of 2 books. And one was just to do with my EPQ, which is, I'll get onto that in a second. And then the other one was just, it's called by Tim Marshall. It's something to do, it's like 10, like, I'm sure it's called like 10 maps that like explain the world or something like that. I'll put it in the description box. And also, even if you're not studying or applying for geography, good book to read. But yeah, it works the same with like any other kind of subject. Just like read a kind of like topical book that is in some way related to your course, just in case you get asked that question, and think about like how you could, like what questions they might ask you about it, and like, or like, so in one of the books I read, there was like a bit that I found really interesting, so I like annotated it, made sure I like knew kind of what it was saying, and like formed my own opinions about some of it. So when they were like, oh, recommend a book, I knew exactly what I was going to say. I knew the bit in the book I was going to talk about, and I basically just explained what I found interesting about it. And I think that just shows that you're like, you know, interested in the subject and like willing to do your own kind of like reading, and also like, I need to stop saying the word like, ugh. But also shows that you can like, oh, nightmare. Also shows that you can form your own opinions and you can have a discussion about those opinions, which is like great, because honestly, I'm gonna like counter throughout this whole video. It's actually shameful. So yeah, like read lots, and then the kind of next tip is just to be like super engaged. If they ask you a question and you don't understand, take time. Say, oh, sorry, could you just repeat that one more time? I didn't quite get that. If they ask you a question, take your time, think about what you're going to say, and then just, you know, have confidence in yourself and go with it. But just, if you come across as like thoughtful, and if you come across as interested and engaging, and enthusiastic, obviously it helps if you're saying stuff that is like coherent and relevant and things like that. But obviously I think the main thing they're trying to do is gauge your personality and see whether it fits with like the teaching style. So you need to be able to sit down in a room with a lecturer and discuss an issue. And I think like one of the main things that they don't expect you to know everything. Like, they know you've come from doing A-levels and you've been taught a very like particular syllabus, and they know that not everyone knows the same thing, and like it's not this huge test. They're not just going to ask you a list of questions, and if you don't have like the exact perfect scripted answer, then no, you're going to be out the door. Like, that is not the vibe at all. It's just literally gauging whether you can read material, kind of understand it, form your own opinions about it, and then have a conversation. Like, that is the whole purpose of the interview. That's literally what they're trying to gauge. And so I think the kind of biggest thing is just like, don't let that scare you, because it isn't meant to be this like scare. Like, obviously it's terrifying. Like, single-handedly that morning was the scariest thing that's ever happened to me, but that wasn't coming from the interviewers. That was definitely just coming from like my kind of pre-perception of what it was going to be like. And in hindsight, it didn't need to be this like big frightening thing. But yeah, and then like more practical things, just like look presentable. Don't like go in like flip-flops and pyjamas, but you don't need to buy new clothes or anything like that. They're not judging you on what you wear, but obviously it's nice to kind of make a bit of an effort. Like, leave yourself lots of time. Like, definitely research where your college is. So most interviews happen in college buildings. So for example, Girton is quite far away from, it's really far away from the train station, and quite far away from like central Cambridge. So like, I know horror stories of people coming to their interview by train thinking, oh, I'll just walk into town, not having researched like the distance, and having to like run like half an hour up a big hill to get to their interview, and arriving all like hot and bothered. Like, you just don't want anything like that, anything that's just silly, that you just shouldn't be an issue to kind of get in your way of like doing well. So yeah, just like make sure you enjoy it, and you're, yeah, it should be an enjoyable thing, kind of. And my main tip is just like, don't be scared, because like, going back to like the first point, at the end of the day, what is the worst that can happen? You don't get in. It's calm, like, it doesn't matter. But yeah, like, so that's kind of my experience. I was fortunate enough to get in. I had some bumps after me getting my place to do with the results and things like that, but I can talk about that later in like another video if that's something that you guys would like be interested in. But there's also tons more that I could talk about, kind of, you know, how I found going to university, how I found like fitting in and finding friends. I know they were all things that I was like terrified of before I went, and have actually all been fine. But yeah, that's kind of my main story about like applying and any tips that kind of I had for like applying to Oxbridge. But yeah, you guys can definitely do it, and just have fun with it, and don't let it stress you out because it's not worth it. But yeah, that's all. See you later.